Okay, guys, I'm reading Revelation chapter 10, 11, and 12 right now. And we'll see what information comes up. There's one little devotion to read with this, so I'll read that at the end because it's at the end. Okay, chapter 10, the angel and the little scroll. Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven. He was robed in a cloud with a rainbow above his head. His face was like the sun, and his legs were like fiery pillars. He was holding a little scroll which lay open in his hand. Now I lost my place, sorry. He planted his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land. And he gave a loud shout like the roar of a lion. When he shouted, the voices of the seven thunders spoke. And when the seven thunders spoke, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from heaven say, "Seal up what the seven thunders have said and do not write it down." Then the angel I had seen standing on the sea and on the land raised his, sorry, I just got goosebumps, guys. Okay, he raised his right hand to heaven, and he swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created the heavens and all that is in them, the earth and all that is in it, and the sea and all that is in it, and said, "There will be no more delay. But in the days when the seventh angel is about to sound his trumpet, the mystery of God will be accomplished, just as he announced to his servants, the prophets." Then the voice that I had heard from heaven spoke to me once more. "Go take the scroll that lies open in the hand of the angel who is standing on the sea and on the land." So I went to the angel and asked him to give me the little scroll. He said to me, "Take it and eat it. It will turn your stomach sour, but in your mouth it will be as sweet as honey." I took the little scroll from the angel's hand and ate it. It tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. But when I had eaten it, my stomach turned sour. Then I was told, "You must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, languages, and kings." Dude, what was in the scroll? I'm so curious now. Okay, chapter 11, the two witnesses. I was given a reed like a measuring rod and was told, "Go and measure the temple of God and the altar and count the worshipers there, but exclude the outer court. Do not measure it, because it has been given to the Gentiles. They will trample on the holy city for 42 months. And I will give power to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two lampstands that stand before the Lord of the earth. If anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemies. This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. These men have power to shut up the sky so that it will not rain during the time they are prophesying, and they have power to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. Now, when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower and kill them. Their bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom in Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. For 3.5 days, men from every people, tribe, language, and nation will gaze on their bodies and refuse them burial. The inhabitants of the earth will gloat over them and will celebrate by sending each other gifts, because these two prophets had tormented those who live on the earth. But after 3.5 days, a breath of life from God entered them, and they stood on their feet, and terror struck those who saw them. Then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud, while their enemies looked on. At that very hour, there was a severe earthquake, and a tenth of the city collapsed. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the survivors were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe has passed. The third woe is coming. The seventh trumpet. The seventh angel sounded his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven which said, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will reign forever and ever." And the 24 elders who were seated on their thrones before God, fell on their faces and worshiped God, saying, "We give thanks to you, Lord God Almighty, the one who is and who was, because you have taken your great power and have begun to reign. And the nations were angry, and your wrath has come. The time has come for judging the dead and for rewarding your servants, the prophets, and your saints, and those who reference your name, both small and great, and for destroying those who destroy the earth." Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple was seen the ark of his covenant. And there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a great hailstorm. Chapter 12, The Woman and the Dragon. Daenerys. Guys, see Game of Thrones. Okay. Chapter 12, A great and wondrous sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant. Hi, Katniss. We're not going to do that right now. Where am I? She was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns on his head. His tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. The dragon stood in front of the woman who was about to give birth so that he might devour her child. That the moment it was born, she gave birth to a son, a male child, who will rule all the nations with an iron scepter, and her child was snatched up to God and to his throne. The woman fled into the desert to a place prepared for her by God, where she might be taken care of for 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, "Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God, and the authority of his Christ." Okay, for the accuser of our brothers, who accuses them before our God, day and night, he has been hurled down. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He is filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. The woman was given the 2 wings of a great eagle, so that she might fly to the place prepared for her in the desert, where she would be taken care of for a time, times and half a time out of the serpent's reach. Then from his mouth the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away with the torrent. But the earth helped the woman by opening his mouth and swallowing the river that the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to make war against the rest of her offspring, those who obey God's commandments and hold to the testimony of Jesus. And the dragon stood on the shore of the sea. Okay, guys, so we will read 13, 14, and 15 next time. I have some highlighting to do, so just give me a second here. Okay. I think that's all I need. Okay, so I decided to use this platform to talk a little bit about my religion journey right now, which I haven't really shared, and since this was over pretty quickly, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, guys. But first, I'm going to show you, because we did talk about Egypt and Sodom. So I'm going to look up Egypt and Sodom on the map next. Okay. So I have a close-up of Egypt. Not there yet. Here it is. Okay. Where is Sodom? Is it in Egypt? I need to look this up. Location of Sodom. Under or adjacent to the shallow waters of South Alizan. I haven't even heard of that. In the region of the Dead Sea, you guys, between what are now Israel and Jordan in the Middle East. So I need to get to Israel. Here it is. Sodom, Israel and Jordan in the Middle East. Okay, so it's not even on the map, but it's like you can see kind of where it was. Okay, so I'm going to show you Egypt first. Egypt. We got the eastern deserts over here. And then we have the western desert over here. And then we have the Nile, like, coming down. And the Red Sea. And the Mediterranean Sea. The Nasser rivers over here. Tropic of Cancers right across here. Excuse me. Sinai Peninsula is up here. Upper Egypt, Luxor, First Cataract, Aswan, Valley of the Kings, Saqqara, Memphis, Giza, Lower Egypt, Cairo, Alexandria, and then we got Israel and the Jordan are in the blue over here. So we'll zoom in on those maps next. I wonder if I can get to Jordan. I got Turkey. Well, where's Jordan? I don't have a close-up of Jordan, I guess. Is Jordan not part of the Middle East? Is it part of something else? I guess it just doesn't have it in this book. It doesn't have a zoomed in part in this book. Yeah, it's not zoomed in on this book, but it's in the Middle East. Okay. Okay, so this is Israel. And then it said that it is in this region along here is where Sodom was. Some like around here somewhere. Along Jordan and it said it's along the Dead Sea. I'm so confused because I thought the Dead Sea was above Turkey, and now it's showing that it's in Jordan. I don't understand. Okay, so there's the Sea of Galilee, which is up here. I talk about that in the Bible a lot. Then we have the Great Rift Valley, which is basically all of where Sodom was. It's just like a valley. The Dead Sea, it says, is right here, which doesn't make any sense because it's supposed to be above Turkey. Like, I don't know why it says Dead Sea right there. The Negev Desert is down here. Jordan River is like along where the valley is. So it must be like a valley, a river, and like some other stuff. I don't know. Okay, so Mediterranean Sea is over here. And then cities are Haifa, Tiberias, Nazareth, the West Bank, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Ben Gedi, Masada, Golan Heights, Eliat, and the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay, so Why is this not marked with what I'm, okay. So I grew up Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Like, I was baptized at St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Cudahy, Wisconsin. And then I attended their grade school from preschool all the way to 8th grade. I was confirmed member there. Like, how confirmation works is you have to take, like, I'll get another visual aid. So if you go to, like, a Christian grade school, you get, like, an extra dose of education on the Bible and, like, everything else, which is pretty cool. So in 5th grade, we read the catechism lessons in this, like, pupil book. I saw my catechism, guys. And then 7th and 8th grade, we had Luther's catechism. What is this? Okay, so this is the catechism examination, which is kind of nice. This was not from my catechism examination. This is from one we did at our church, like a couple years ago, a year ago, something like that. And I just saved it and kept it in here because I never saved mine. If I did, I don't know what we did with it. But so basically, like, once you've done 2 years of the red catechism and then 2 years of the blue catechism, then you can get confirmed. You have to have an examination. You have to, like, they ask you, like, literally, it's like hundreds of questions, you guys, in front of, like, all of these people, and you have to, like, answer them all. Like, they, like, quiz you on your knowledge of, like, being a Lutheran, basically, and the Bible, but it's mostly Lutheran crap. So, sorry. And then there's also Lutheran's large catechism study questions. We did not study this in our grade school, but, like, we went through this at our church as, like, a Bible study, which was kind of interesting, but I was, like, confused because, like, we didn't even use this, like, in grade school. So I don't know if this is, like, a newer thing. It's probably newer. Maybe it's older. I don't know. 2010. Yeah, I graduated in 2000. So this is, like, a newer version. So I don't know if they just got rid of the red and the blue catechism and just converted it to this to make it, like, simplified. I have no idea, but we had, like, these hefty, thick books, and now apparently this is the one they use, which this would have been a lot better than 2 years of this garbage. Like, just saying. We also had hymnology classes where we had to memorize hymns, guys. I had a horrible memory. Like, I had PTSD from shit that was going on in my freaking family, like, all through grade school and high school and college and everything else. So, like, my memory was shot. Like, it was terrible. Like, I have a really good memory now because, like, I did IFS and I did, like, trauma therapy and I've done, like, all this other stuff. So, like, miraculously, this, like, fog in my head just got, like, lifted. So, like, I have a very good memory now. But, like, before, my memory was, like, horrible memory. So, like, anyway, so then hymnology, we had to memorize hymns from this hymnal. This is, like, the Lutheran symbol, and this is another Lutheran symbol, and this is the same symbol. This is the same symbol. Anyway, all of this you have to learn as a child. Like, freaking ridiculous. On top of everything else you have to learn. Just throw that shit on the floor. Okay, so anyway, so, like, I was, like, I had 2 friends who in our 8th grade class decided they did not want to get confirmed with us, Eric and Elaine Shabla, and I thought that was, like, really weird. And so I was like, I didn't know you could choose not to get confirmed. Like, I thought you had to get confirmed. Like, we're, like, programmed, like, our entire, like, childhood, like, preschool through, like, 8th grade, like, you have to get confirmed and, like, you have to learn Lutheran small catechism, like, you have to do all these things or you can't get confirmed and you can't take communion. And, like, so I was like, I don't understand. Like, they can still take the Lord's Supper and not have to do all this stuff. Like, how does that work? I'm very confused. They ended up getting confirmed Lutheran, but, like, at a later date, they didn't get confirmed with our class. And it was, like, this huge, like, drama in our school. Like, oh my gosh, Eric and Elaine aren't getting confirmed with all the 8th graders. Like, this is a travesty. Like, this is, like, literally, like, the gossip of the congregation. Like, in our class, we were, like, the first ones to have 2 people be like, nope, we're not doing this. So I don't know. So, like, it was I had a lot of questions for them. They were, like, still are some of my best friends. They both stood up at my wedding. So, like, I literally talked to both of them this week already. I've talked to both of them on the phone for quite a long time. We talk a lot. So like I just like I had a lot of questions, and I think they're both Presbyterian now. Comment if I'm wrong, guys. But when I went to their church for Elaine's son Charlie's baptism, so I believe they're Presbyterian now. It could have changed, but so they're Presbyterian, and I actually haven't been than that church to a Presbyterian church to do like my research. I'm doing this thing called Denomination Detective, where I'm like researching different like churches by like going there and like investigative reporting like on these churches and like interviewing the pastors and like whatever, so I can like explain this stuff. And like it started because my dad died 4 years ago. Like he told, like, one of the final things he said, and I recorded this. I recorded my dad saying this, you guys. Videotaped him. So like I asked him, he had told my brother, you have to stay Wells, Josh. Like you have to stay Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Like that was like his big request for my brother, is that all this pressure, you have to stay Wells and you have to get mom to go to church more. My mom doesn't really go to church. She grew up Catholic, and my dad was not the most Christian husband. So like it kind of made her not want anything to do with the church. And because of that, if you do not take your children to church, your children, if they go to a Lutheran grade school, are not allowed to participate in sports or extracurricular activities. They actually get detention. I got detention, guys, because my mom didn't take me to school enough. I got kicked off the cheerleading team, I think twice, because I wasn't going to church enough. You had to fill out like a little like sheet when you got there that like asked you what the sermon was about and all this other stuff. And like you had to like, I think twice a month you had to submit it in. And like if you, and they would take like calls, like roll calls on like Monday, like, did you go to church yesterday or on Thursday? And like you had, if you didn't say yes, like they like checked you in this like box. And then eventually, like if you tallied up enough times that you weren't going to church, you got kicked off cheerleading, you got kicked off basketball, you could not do anything fun basically at school, which was really crappy. Like for the kids who could walk there, like I was very jealous of my friend Eric and my friend Tammy and Eric and Elaine, and like the Kulisewski family could literally just like walk to church because they lived literally in like blocks away. I had to drive at least like 15 minutes to get to school and church. Like, and I could not drive myself. So if my mom was protesting and didn't want to go to church that Sunday, I got in trouble because she didn't take me to church. And she like found out about this game that they're playing and that I have to be there by. So then like we played the game together, and I'd be like, Mom, this is the second Sunday. We really need to go. Or like, if you can't take me, I'm going to spend the night at grandma's house so that way she can take me to church. So like that basically became the thing, so I could get out of detention and still be on the cheerleading team. Even though honestly, guys, I hated cheerleading. Like the only reason I was a cheerleader is because everybody begged me to, because they wanted to lift me up in the pyramid and I was the lightest person. That was basically the only reason I was in cheerleading. So I was like the worst freaking cheerleader. Like I sat on the sidelines, I like pouted, I made fun of them. Like I hated being a cheerleader, but it was fun. I really liked the pyramid. Like I like being thrown up in the air and like caught. That was fun. So anyway. So basically, where was I going with all this? Okay, so I decided, my dad. Okay, so then my dad, like, we had this like moment or whatever when he was like fading. He got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer stage 4, and it had already spread to like his lungs and his liver. Like literally, like we got back the autopsy and his whole body was covered in cancer. Like every freaking organ was covered in cancer. And I think he was an organ donor, and we didn't donate any of his organs just because he had cancer literally everywhere. Like they even wanted to donate his eyes, but I guess like once your liver gets like cancerous, your eyes turn yellow. So like he had like yellow eyes, and we're like, we're not giving his eyeballs to someone, like they're gross. So yeah, so basically my dad's whole body was like infested with cancer, which I have this theory that you die the way that you deserve to die. So my dad was like a very like, he deserved to die from pancreatic cancer, and it deserved to be all over his body based on how he treated our family and my mom for like decades. Like he deserved to die a very like crappy death. The nice thing is God took him really quickly, so he wasn't in pain for very long. He was only alive for like 10 days, 5 days after his official diagnosis. he was in a crappy hospital because he was there for hernia surgery, and he went in for pain, and that's how they found out what it was. But it took them a whole week to diagnose him, which was ridiculous. And then at that point, he just like, I remember talking to him every day because I lived in Texas and he lived in Wisconsin. I remember talking to him every day. And like, there were days where he was like, fine. Like, he sounded like my dad. And then other days he's like, he could barely talk to me. He was in so much pain. And then when I got there, when I like flew in to see him, like my mom, nobody told him, like, I didn't tell my mom I was coming. Like, I surprised her because she told me not to come. And I was like, I'm freaking coming to see my dad. Like, I don't think he's going to live long. Everybody at work is telling me, Chelsea, he has pancreatic cancer. He could die literally tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So I like booked my flight. I like got there. And so like for this like interview that I had with my dad, I asked him, I said, you aren't going to live to see your grandchildren on my side. And if Josh and Amy, my brother and his wife, had any more kids, they just had one, Maya. My niece Maya was the only one she was 2 when he died. I was 2 when my grandpa died. His dad died from a brain tumor. So like, which he deserved to die from a brain tumor based on like how he treated his whole family as well. And like my grandma won't say anything negative about him, her like precious husband, but like this shit that my dad said that he did, and like what he did to my Uncle Brian, and like I don't know what he did to my Aunt Debbie, but he was not a good dad. Like, I mean, he did the best he could, I guess. But anyway, so he deserves to die from a brain tumor, guys. Everybody deserves to die from whatever they die from. Like, that's what God decided you're going to die from, and I think that's what you deserve. So my dad deserved to die from pancreatic cancer, and I was happy that he wasn't in pain very long, so that was gracious of God to do that. But like, so I interview him, and I'm like, Dad, you're not going to meet any of your grandkids on my side, or any of your, like, Josh and Amy's other children. They've had one other child since. I don't think they plan on having any more kids. I would like them to have at least one more child and adopt it, but that's not up to me. So, so when I asked him, I was like, what message do you want to give your grandchildren that you're not going to meet? Like, I want to have this recording to like show them. And so this is what he said, guys. 5 times. This is what he said. 5 times. 5 has been like 5 and 2 have been my favorite numbers for like literally ever. I have reason why. I can explain it a different time. But like, so he said, always remain a Christian. That's all he said. 5 times he said that. He said it like in a lot of pain and like as best as he possibly could, but he very clearly said, always remain a Christian. So like after, and it's like, is there anything else you want to say, Dad? Anything else? No. He had nothing else he wanted to say, guys. He just said, always remain a Christian 5 times for his grandchildren. So like, one time for Maya, she met him already, so maybe one time for JJ, and maybe I'm supposed to have 4 kids, or they're supposed to have 1 kid and I'm supposed to have 3 kids. We're each supposed to have 3 kids. I don't really know the significance, but it's been haunting me for 4 freaking years, you guys. So like one night, so I have bipolar depression, and I like had like a hypomanic episode, and I couldn't sleep, and I like was obsessed with reading the Bible in my dictionary. Like I literally like got my Bible out in my dictionary, and I just sat down and I started highlighting stuff, and I was like going crazy. It was like not even like me doing it. It was like some angelic takeover of like this like message that I needed to like get across and do something with. And like I couldn't, it was very weird. And then basically like all of a sudden it's like God and my dad are in the room with me, and they're talking to me, and my dad's telling me to look up all these words from this passage in the dictionary and highlight them. And I'm finding God's name in the dictionary and like all this. I think I still have it highlighted. Hang on. I do still have it highlighted. Hang on. Okay, guys, my Webster dictionary. I love this dictionary so much. It's like my favorite thing. Okay, so I still have them all paper clipped. Thank God. Okay, so the first word I was supposed to look up is believe. Believed, believing, to allow belief, akin to OGH, belief, to have a firm religious faith, to accept as true, genuine, or real, ideals, firm religious faith, to accept as true, genuine, or real. I read that one wrong. To have a firm conviction as to the goodness, efficacy, or ability of something, to hold an opinion, think, to consider to be true or honest, report, to accept the word or evidence of, to hold as an opinion, suppose. Okay, so that's believe. My next paperclip. So glad I saved these paper clips, you guys. Okay, my next paperclip is the word faith. To trust. More at allegiance to duty or person, loyalty. Fidelity to one's promises, sincerity or of intentions, belief and trust in, and loyalty to God. God is in the dictionary, guys. Belief in the traditional doctrines of a religion, firm belief in something for which there is no proof, complete trust, something that is believing, especially with strong conviction, a system of religious beliefs, see belief, faith without question. Okay, then the next word that I had, okay, hope. To cherish a desire with anticipation, promotion. Archaic trust. To desire with expectation of obtainment. To expect with confidence, trust. To hope without any basis for expecting fulfillment. Trust, reliance, desire accompanied by expectation of or belief in fulfillment. Expectation of fulfillment or success, someone or something on which hopes are centered, something hoped for. Okay, next one. We have joy. The emotion rejoice prob akin to the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desires, delight. The expression or exhibition of such emotion, gaiety. A state of happiness or felicity, bliss. A source or cause of delight, joylessly, joylessness. To experience great pleasure or delight, rejoice, archaic, gladden, enjoy. Okay, so the next word I was supposed to look up. This is second to last word, guys. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words I was supposed to look up. Don't know why 6. I don't know the significance of it. Okay. Love. Strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties, maternal for a child, attraction based on sexual desire, affection and tenderness felt by lovers, affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common lovers, affection based on common interest for his old schoolmates, an assurance of love, give her my warm attention, enthusiasm, or devotion of her sea, give sea of the sea. Okay, the object of the attachment, devotion, or admiration, such as baseball, a beloved person, darling, often used as a term of endearment, Brit, used as an informal term of address, unselfish, loyal, and benevolent concern for the good of another, as the fatherly concern of God for humankind, brotherly concern for others, a person's adoration of God, a good or personification of love, an amorous episode, love affair, the sexual embrace, copulation, a score of 0, as in tennis, Christian Science, God, at love, holding one's opponent. So God again is in the dictionary, guys, under love. Holding one's opponent scoreless in tennis, in love, inspired by affection, loved, loving, to hold dear, cherish, to feel a lover's passion, devotion, or tenderness for, caress, to fondle amorously, to copulate with, to like or desire, actively take pleasure in, love to play the violin, to thrive in, the rose, sunlight, to feel affection or experience desire. Excuse me, guys. Okay, last word that I was supposed to look up. Trust. Okay. Faithful, more at true, assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth, or someone or something, one in which confidence is placed. A dependence on something future or contingent, hope. Reliance on future payment for property or as merchandise delivered, credit, bought furniture, on a property interest held by one person for the benefit of another. Then the rest just talks about property and threatening competition. It's not important. Okay. So those are the 6 words that I was supposed to look up. I worked at Wells Kingdom Workers. I was a volunteer there. It's like an organization that's like mission focused that like sends people on vacation Bible school. I took a vacation Bible school trip. I helped them start a blog. I had my internship there after in college, and I was a little frustrated and disappointed with just how they did things there. But it wasn't like, I don't know. It's just like I learned more about the Wells by working there. And then I worked at Wisconsin Lutheran Child and Family Services, which is the social services division of Wells. So they originally specialized in adoption and stuff like that. And then they did away with that. And they just focused on like counseling and assisted living homes and things like that. So I did marketing communications for them. That was like my job there. And then I got laid off because they just couldn't afford me anymore, I guess. And then, and I loved that job. I loved that job very much. But that was the job that I like started realizing like there was like something off with my creativity. Like I remember Nicole Petrie, my boss, or Petrie. It's been a while. I'm sorry, Nicole, if you watch this and I'm saying your last, like I'm completely botching it. But I remember she sat me down and she's like, Chelsea, like your work is a little weird lately. Like she's like, it's either you like you're like really good at the stuff you're designing, or like you give me something and I'm like, I don't even know who designed this. This is very confusing. So like that was like when I started thinking maybe I had bipolar depression or bipolar disorder or something, and my uncle had it. So like I thought that I had it too, but like they kept telling me it was anxiety. They kept telling me it was attention deficit disorder. They kept telling me it was depression, insomnia. Like nobody could pinpoint this because apparently my symptoms were so mild. And I was like a yoga instructor, so I was really good at meditating and I was good at like controlling my symptoms. So like they were giving me all the wrong meds, all the wrong treatment for like decades because nobody knew what it was. But I like started doing research on my own and I'm thinking like, well, maybe I am like, I'm super creative. Like I have like insomnia. I have like these like hypomanic like episodes, but they're like very mild and they don't happen very often. It's usually just when I'm like really stressed out or like in a bad relationship or something like that. Like it's like I have triggers that make it bad, not like anything else. So I was like, nope. I talked to somebody and they're like, nope, it's attention deficit disorder, Chelsea. You don't have bipolar disorder. And I'm like, okay. So then I got a job at the seminary. So I worked there for 3 months. I had just gotten engaged to a Wells pastor's son. And why? My cats and dogs are like playing and like fighting with each other right now. Okay. So I was at the seminary, and this is kind of when I decided I didn't want to be Wells. And the problem was I was marrying a Wells pastor's son. So it got complicated, guys. So like I remember, so basically the seminary, you can only be only men can be pastors in the Wells. That's how it works. Like there's other churches where women can be pastors, or they have like important roles. Like in the Catholic Church, women can be nuns, sisters, like they can be part of like the altar guild committee. I still need to like research what the role children play as like candle bearers and like what they rears and like all their stuff. I don't really understand all that. But so anyway, so like I'm working at the seminary and I'm literally like this like young 20-something, newly engaged, apparently attractive girl. And like I got a lot of attention from a lot of guys my age there. So like my fiance made sure I got flowers on my birthday. Like he made sure like everyone knew that I was engaged. So like he would call there and like check in on me. And so like everybody there knew that I was engaged and I was Aaron's girl, like fiance, and like they weren't allowed to like do anything. So like, and I was older than these guys. I was like in my mid-20s. They were kind of like in their like, I was in my late 20s, I should say. They were kind of in like their early 20s, mid-20s. So I wasn't that much older than them. But like there was a lot of flirting. I tried to like not engage as best as possible, but there were a lot of attractive young pastor boys there. So like I probably flirted more than I probably should have. But I informed Aaron of like every conversation so he didn't feel like threatened or uncomfortable. Like I was a good fiance. And so like my dad was so proud that I was working there. My father-in-law was so proud. Aaron was so proud. Like he was telling everybody how much money I made. And I'm like, let's not talk about that. So like, and like they paid me very good there. Like surprisingly for working for a seminary, the amount of money they like offered me, I was like, how do you have that much money? Like I was that was like my first red flag was how did they have that much money to pay me? And like, so I was marketing and communications assistant or something there. I can't even remember what my title is. It's on my LinkedIn page. And so, excuse me. And so I had like a very interesting 3 months. President Wendland was my boss. He was really cool. He compared me to Princess Di, gave me like a mental health day when I was like super stressed out with wedding planning and like all this other stuff and like school. I was going to school also while I was doing this. I was working on 3 certificates simultaneously after my bachelor's degree. So like I was very stressed out. And so he gave me like a mental health day and like whatever. Like he was really nice about it. And like if I had questions about anything, like he'd give me like a half hour to an hour to like talk theology and like whatever. Like it was very interesting. And it was just really nice to have like all of these like resources, like a library that I could go to like read. Like it was awesome. Like I enjoyed my job for a while. And then they had this like, I don't, so like my job there, like he wanted me to do like journalism stuff there. Like he wanted me to interview people and write stories and put blogs on the website. Like that was like the main thing I did. And then I designed like flyers and brochures and like marketing material. And eventually I wasn't there long enough to design the like little magazine that they have and stuff. But like there was like an anniversary coming up and we were supposed to coordinate with the synod and like I apparently went to this meeting very frustrated and like vented my frustrations to the wrong people. And then I got in trouble for doing this. Like it was very disorganized, like how they were running it. These men have horrible organization skills and a lot of arrogance and pride. So like I apparently embarrassed them, which one, you don't embarrass men because it's disrespectful, even though I feel like you should embarrass men when they're acting like douchebags. So, because it gets their attention and it makes them change their behavior. That's like growing up with a brother. That's like what I learned. Like, if you told my brother you were disappointed in him or you embarrassed him in some way, he would like alter whatever bad behavior he was doing and fix it because he did not want to be embarrassed and he did not want to be disrespected. Like, it was that important. It's like if you want to hurt a woman, you act like unloving to her and then she will like think everything she's doing is wrong and like try to fix it. So, like, if you want to piss off a girl, be a douchebag to her. And if you want to piss off a guy, embarrass him. Like, that's basically, like, what you got to do. So, just say. That's the resolution to any male or female problem. Read the book Love and Respect. Okay. So, anyway. So, they had this conference or, like, I don't even remember. It was like a convention. I don't know. So there were like tons of pastors coming in here and they're all walking past my desk. They're staring at my freaking breasts. They're like inappropriately flirting with me. And like, I was like, these are our pastors, these disgusting pigs that are like trying to hit on a woman, like not even remotely close to their age. Like I literally wanted to barf, you guys. I was like so disgusted with these disgusting pastors coming to this convention. And so like, I had to go and like, photograph what was happening and write about what was happening to put on our blog and like in marketing materials and whatever. So like I go down there, I'm taking my photos, I'm listening, and like there's all these topics that are so interesting and I want to like ask questions and they're like forming these lines to go up to ask these questions. And I'm like, why don't I go and ask a question? And so I get in line to ask a question. Women don't ask questions in a Wells church. It's not allowed. You don't have a voice. You don't get to ask questions. So my pastor from like my congregation saw me go up there and like comes up to me and it's like, Chelsea, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm waiting in line to ask a question. He like pulls me out of line, literally pulls me out of line, guys, Pastor Rexon. And he's like, Chelsea, you can't ask a question here. And I was like, why not? And he's like, that's not how we do things. Only pastors and like, you can't ask a question. And I was like, I don't understand why I can't ask a question. And so like, this is causing a lot of commotion, guys. Like we had eyes literally all over the room on this like scene. And I'm like getting so angry that I can't ask a question. Like I was like furious with my pastor at this point and he's trying to like protect me. But like, he's like, he's like smiling. Like, I don't know if he's proud of me. I don't know. But like, basically, like, he's like, so like, basically it was decided I was not allowed to ask this freaking question. So I was like, whatever, I'll talk to President Wendland about it later. So like, and he'll answer it. But like, nobody else is going to hear the answer to my question. So it was very frustrating to me. And I was just like, I don't understand why I can't ask a question in this convention. Like, just because I'm a woman, this is bullshit. Like, I was like furious, you guys. So like, I go back to doing my job, taking freaking photos and like taking notes on what's happening and like covering the convention for these fucktards. And then that aren't letting me ask any fucking questions. So then, so then later, like President Wendland comes in and he's like, I heard kind of what happened. Like, what's going on? What was your question? Like, and then I'm like, why wasn't I allowed to ask a question? And he like looked like dumbfounded and like, so like we have this like discussion about like roles of men and women in the Wells Church and like how I don't feel that women have a very good role in the Wells Church and like frustrations with like women not being able to vote and all of my like concerns that I have for Wells Church. And so like he's like listening to my concerns and he's like telling me that like what a good Christian marriage needs to be because he knows I'm getting married and he's trying to like counsel me at the same time while he's like doing this. And so like he tells me this story about how he gave up a job so he could move to Africa with his wife and she was going to be like leading something like a mission trip or I don't even remember teaching. I don't remember. I apologize, President Wendland, if you're watching this, that I forgot this. But he tells me this story. Basically, he uproots his life for his wife and that it was her turn. She had already uprooted her life for him. So it was his turn to move like with this or whatever. And I'm telling Aaron this story and I was like, there's going to come a time where we're going to uproot our lives for me. And we did. We moved to Texas so I could get a job at a newspaper. And he was very depressed for like a year. He couldn't find a job because we moved to like the worst freaking city in Texas ever. Literally the worst freaking, most corrupt, crazy ass little small town city. Fredericksburg, Texas. Never moved there. Their cops are corrupt. Their jails are corrupt. Their newspaper is fucking corrupt. Like, it's just a corrupt little town that's a tourist trap. Literally a tourist trap, you guys. So, like, it's a great place to visit. Go be a tourist there, but do not freaking live there. The people who live there are literally impossible to get along with. Like, there are some people who are really nice and sweet and, like, genuine and whatever, but they're rare. They're very rare. Like, there's no middle class there. If there's middle class, you struggle. It's basically rich and poor, and that's it. Like, it's a terrible city. It literally, the whole thing needs to just be reevaluated completely. Like, their like property value is way too high. Like, they're completely arrogant. They're like super full of shit. They have like the highest infidelity and like divorce rate ever for a town of only 10,000 people. Like, it's just, I've had a bad feeling about them. Like, literally after 1 year of living there and getting to know people, I was like, this is like, I don't want to stay here forever. Like 2 years tops, and let's get the hell out of here. And we ended up being there 6 years, and it was horrible for our marriage. We got a divorce, and like it was horrible for me personally because I was struggling to fit into this community. I literally tried everything. I like joined meetup groups. I went to the gym and like socialized with people. Like, and I was told that it takes 10 years to fit into that community. 10 years, guys. And I was there for 2, and I'm like, screw this place. Like, I'm not fitting in here, whatever, I'm done. So like we tried to move to Kerrville, which is where my job was, and like I almost transferred to like a different place so Aaron could get a different job. And then all of a sudden Aaron starts getting promotions at this stupid piece of shit hospital that is apparently like the greatest hospital in the universe, according to the stupid Fredericksburgers. And it's literally a shit hospital, like a shit fucking hospital. So anyway, so Aaron, like, they like honor him with these like awards and they like promote him. And I'm just like, this is a shitty hospital. And you're just like taking the fucking bait because you're the only person doing your fucking job. And they just keep feeding you with like a silver fucking platter, and you just keep working your way up the fucking totem pole. It's literally just bullshit. Like, it's literally fucking bullshit. And it was making me so frustrated. And then he turned into like some fucking pod person because he got sucked into this psychotic culture. And like, I wanted nothing to do with him and he wanted nothing to do with me. And I'm like, well, good, let's just be done then. Like, it was a mistake to move here. So anyway, so basically, like, I learned a lot from working at the seminary, and I learned when I had admitted that I had attention deficit disorder, which is what I thought I had at the time. President Wendland went apeshit, like literally apeshit. Like, oh my God, this is like 50 minutes, guys. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up here. Okay, bye.